Welcome to the LivXplore Podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. I'm Sean Payne, founder and principal of LivXplore Real Estate and Lifestyle. I have with me today our founding agent, Isaiah Chass. And we have a special podcast today. We have Ebbie Nakhjavani from EKN Development and Heather Knapp, who is Director of Events and Arts for EKN. And I'm sorry, Ebbie, you are the founder, president, and CEO of EKN Development. So,
that's correct.
Yeah. There we go. So you are heading the project for Hotel Weaver here in Petaluma, which is why we brought you down here. We thought it was a really cool project. Wanted to find out more about it, and I know that you're kind of going through the community process right now. So, can you tell us a little bit about EKN and how you started it and kind of what you guys are about that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I started working for a commercial developer, retail developer, Simon. At the time, Simon Property Group, and I've been a developer pretty much all my life. I'm a civil engineer that graduated at USD in San Diego State, and we've been developing projects for over 30 years now. Our initial development projects were mainly mixed-use development with retail-based. I worked early 2000 till about 2012 as a project in Las Vegas in partnership with Caesars Entertainment.
Okay,
That's when I got into hospitality, and we changed our strategy for development from retail-based to hospitality-based.
I see.
So we've been developing hotels since then. EKN Development continues to develop projects that are destination locations, high barrier to entry in terms of unique locations. And we love doing what we do. Hospitality is really the space we want to be in.
Right. It looks like you have some incredible projects going on right now. Grand Canyon, Lake Tahoe, downtown Los Angeles, Monterey Bay, and Petaluma. How did you come about? It's such a, more of what are known as destination areas, and then Petaluma. We're growing into a destination area. Yeah. But how did you pick this community?
Well, the community specifically, the area specifically, obviously Sonoma is world renowned.
Sure.
And so, I had been coming up here for the wine country. And then every time I came to Petaluma or drove through and visited, I was always impressed by what a quaint, beautiful town, city it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the opportunity came, and I'll explain to you in a minute how the opportunity came about, I jumped on it for that reason. It is not a very fast-growing or extensively growing town, mm-hmm. Which is a big attraction. We initially developed projects that were in very, very dense urban areas. And the challenge with those is that when you put a project somewhere, there are 20 projects that can pop up around you. Mm-hmm. In locations like Tahoe, like Petaluma, we're also doing a big project in Maui. We select projects where, as you said, south of Grand Canyon, there is no other property to develop. And the reason behind that is that we're not what they call merchant builders. We don't build and flip and go to the next project. Our company's philosophy is to build these projects, manage them, even if when we bring in outside third-party management company, we're still the owner, mm-hmm. and we retain ownership. And our goal is to select unique locations where you can have the opportunity to keep those and maintain them as an asset. Mm-hmm. And if you're in an area where all kinds of projects are popping up around you, that makes it challenging. It almost sometimes forces you to exit.
Sure.
So in a location like Petaluma, this is definitely a project that we plan to maintain as an asset and be proud of it.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's certainly needed here in town. Obviously, I'm sure as you were like spending time here, you're probably driving around being like, wow, this would be like, there's no hotel in
Right.
downtown Petaluma that
Yeah.
way. So yeah, it's definitely been needed for quite some time. Kind of on that note, how do you feel this project will benefit the community that way? So.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, so in order to answer that, I said I would tell you how I came
Yep. Oh, yeah.
to this location. So, Sean, maybe I'll take that real quick first.
Sure.
So we actually are preferred developers for hotels with many of the brands. And the original owner, who didn't have any hotel development experience, had approached the brands to get a franchise. And so we were contacted by the brand, one of the brands, and the owner had been told that we'll franchise you, but you'd have to bring an experienced developer who has hotel development and management experience. So that's how we were contacted. The brand basically connected us with the landowner. And then through the process, which after we looked at the property, the landowner decided that they wanted to exit. And so we went ahead and got the property under contract, and that's how we started working on it. I'm not, so I'm sorry, Sean, I forgot the question you asked as a follow-up.
No. It's just like, what do you see? How do you, there's obviously, aside from just having a hotel town, what benefits do you see that you're bringing to the community? That
For
way?
sure.
So.
Okay, so I believe, and this is just the way I've experienced Petaluma, is that there are a lot of development that's going on in and around Petaluma, even in the neighboring towns. And I think Petaluma doesn't have a new boutique hotel. So when I came to Petaluma, there weren't a lot of choices. And some of the new additions from a hospitality standpoint in Petaluma are not in downtown, and they don't quite really cater to somebody who wants to come and really experience Petaluma without driving around, without just being a pass-through customer. So I always thought that Petaluma needed something that was kind of boutique-y but new, and people who came here to experience it would be able to come park their car one time, spend a couple nights, and enjoy Petaluma without having to drive around and be a kind of a tourist.
Right.
So the location was really what attracted me. Once I saw it, and I thought, okay, you're basically just walking distance to everything, to all the restaurants, all the activities. And of course, the festival that you guys have is beautiful, and we're right on that. But I think it's also the design of it is going to be an amenity to the town. Really, it goes to our philosophy, the way we develop projects. If you look at, we're very unique in many different ways. I know everybody says that about themselves, but I think once the hotel is built and people experience it, they'll realize that it was true. Because most people who develop hotels, like especially like the most recent one that was developed, we are completely sort of the antithesis of the way a lot of developers think. A lot of developers think that we have to have a very exclusive place just for our guests. We think exactly the opposite. We build projects that are for the community. And then what we believe is that the people who come, the guests, the tourists, even locals, families, relatives, come and stay at our hotel because they want to be immersed in that neighborhood, in that community.
They want the authentic.
They want
Petaluma,
the authenticity.
Yeah,
exactly.
the authentic experience.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And so we're in fact doing exactly the same thing in Tahoe. We're doing exactly the same thing in Grand Canyon, is look and see, okay, what is, how does the town feel and breathe and live? And then just build the project to be commensurate with that. When we took over this project, the first thing that struck me, the plans that had been contemplated didn't really perpetuate the way downtown Petaluma walkability feels. When you're walking downtown Petaluma, what you see is storefronts.
Right.
and you see restaurants that come right up to the sidewalk. So the design was, it had a big courtyard in the front, cars would pull up. It was kind of like, that has its own place, but not in downtown Petaluma.
So you actually stepped in, looked at the design, and said, "This isn't right. This doesn't feel good. The grain of it isn't correct for the city. We're gonna change that."
Exactly.
So very cool.
Exactly. So the plan that we're submitting to the city for review is actually completely perpetuating that same exact feel. We have the entire lobby of the hotel, and that's the other thing I didn't want to have. I didn't want to have a hotel lobby on the corner of B and the boulevard. That
Right.
didn't really make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we completely redesigned it where instead of having a hotel lobby, the entire first floor almost is a restaurant and restaurant bar. So as you're walking the street, and people usually don't walk and look, up at the building.
Right.
So the way it's going to feel when you're on the street is going to feel like the rest of the boulevard. And in terms of access, you walk in and you walk into a restaurant, not a hotel lobby. We have a very small area of the first floor dedicated to check-in. And these days with mobile check-in, etc., we have very few guests that are waiting in the lobby.
Sure.
So I would say more than 90% of the first floor is allocated to the restaurant, back of house, and the kitchen. And then the other thing that I had noticed, and it's a great cost to us, but I think it's something that would be fantastic in Petaluma, is that there are no rooftop bars.
Right.
So, during special occasions, whether you're watching the festival or whether you're it's Valentine's Day or a birthday or whatever the occasion may be, it's open to the public. So you have the ability to go upstairs and really enjoy the views, enjoy whatever occasion you have. Heather is our director of events, and what we do, arts and events, but what we do at our locations, also there's a continuous programming that we do, and Petaluma will be similar to that. I love the fact that it's an art-centric city. Heather's an artist herself and a professional photographer. And so we will be working really hard on making sure that the hotel, rooftop, the restaurant are always programmed. There's always something going on. And one of the things that she's already started doing, and I should let her explain, but also everywhere we go, we don't impose what we think should be the performance, the art, or the event. We look at the community and see what's available, what is that town's and that city's flavor of what they like to do. So I don't know if you want to add anything, Heather, to that.
Yeah, with our food and beverage, we want to be a really good host, and we want to make sure that the community has access to our property and be able to enjoy it as well. With the art, we are looking at a local artist to help us do our public art, which is going to be accessible to the community as well.
Cool.
I'm
Will
really
that be
excited
an
about that.
installation when you first walk in, or as well as the roof?
So that's something that I'm working on right now. I really want it to be interactive, and I want it to tell a story. So it might actually be throughout the hotel and not just in one location.
Cool.
It's just something that we're starting to play with and work on. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. And then we want to do programming that's art centric. Obviously, the town has a really high value on art. So with that, we want to do like sip and paint nights and art shows and displays and things like that. So and try to use local regional artists.
That's really cool. And I think that shows, too, that you're really trying to integrate within the community that way, that you have that leeway. You don't actually have the design like, hey, we're going to put this right here. Like, well, we're going to figure it out and see how it really, what it feels. That's the message I'm hearing right now. So, again, that goes that you're really trying to integrate within the community. That's really good.
I think that's the one thing that's lacking in other spots, is that they don't have a way to bring everyone within the community involved, and that's exactly what you're saying that you have within your vision.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, it's so needed because we're stocked full of antique stores and restaurants. Per cap, I think we're like kind of higher up there percentage wise in the nation, and then everyone has to leave around 4 or 5 o'clock, right? Like they have to leave downtown. So and then we recently had the river dredge, and previously I think that was bringing in like $3 million worth of revenue before that, and hopefully that returns that way. But again, those people come up here they'd like to have a place to stay, walk around, enjoy the restaurants, but then they have to go back on their boats or leave or stay on their boats. And now here, for those clientele, they have a destination spot that way, and it just seems so needed and just a no-brainer that way.
Right.
To bring life to Petaluma after 4 o'clock would be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the biggest issue I'm going to have is keeping my agents in here working and not up on the hotel bar, around 4 o'clock that way. So
well, we're going to have a great happy
hour. You will get to know us very well. I have
okay, we made a note. There'll be some direct marketing.
Exactly. So no, we're very excited. We think it's needed that way. Here's kind of the loaded question. What opposition have you faced within the community? And I'm sure there's been quite a bit that way in terms of this project.
Well, actually, I don't know if I would actually call it opposition. In fact, I think that I was very encouraged that when we had a couple community meetings so far, and we're having another one on Thursday.
Okay.
I think that I've heard almost unanimously that everybody likes the project, and everybody believes that that intersection should be developed with a hotel. And I believe that everybody has embraced what we've proposed. I think that the concerns that I've had from the community are really more towards asking questions about how we're addressing things.
Sure.
And they've actually been really helpful. There's been concern about traffic, there's been concern about the design, there's been concern about the hotel actually not being open to the public, and I think a lot of that comes from what they've seen happen in the neighborhoods. And so the community meetings have really helped us. We've answered a lot of those questions, but they've also helped us really think about how do we further expand on some of those things. We are open to the public, but how do we also change our programs and perfect our programs to be more, for example, art-centric? How do we make sure they're more music-centric and those types of things? So, and actually we do this everywhere. Anything new is, and especially when people don't know about it, is scary. And so, and a lot of people not knowing what our style is threatened by the fact that maybe I just have one opportunity to say something, and then the project's going to get built, and oh my God, I'm never going to like this.
Right.
Whereas what we do, Heather goes in almost everywhere we develop, and we start community meetings way ahead of the requirements. For example, for Petaluma, to comply with the town's regulations, we have to have one community meeting prior to submittal. We've already had 2, we're having our 3rd one, and we may even have more. I'm not really sure, depending on the timing and the schedule. And the purpose is to give everybody an opportunity. I can't answer every question at every community meeting, and I also tell everyone I can't make 100% of the people happy 100% of the time.
Right.
We're honest about it. There are some challenges. There's financial issues. There's zoning code issues, etc. At the end of the day, the city has to approve it, and at the end of the day, I have to be consistent with the zoning codes, regulations, etc. But within those frameworks, we can actually implement things that really deliver an incredible project to the community. And why is that important to us? Is because it's aligned with what we set out to do. We're not exclusive. We don't want to close our doors. And if it's not embraced by the community, I think we fail.
Sure.
So in order for it to function the way it's designed to function, we have to have community acceptance, and we have to have community patronage.
Right.
And that's why Heather's job is a really important one. A lot of developers, and if you look at even projects around you, the people who build it and who are the developers, who are the project sponsor, they disappear. They open and they've done their job and they're off and running to doing something else. We're exactly the opposite. Our jobs begin when the project opens. We make sure that programming continuously is there. I'm always visiting the property, making sure that the vision actually got communicated to the management company. We always make sure that the vision is actually perpetuated by all the staff. We want them to know that when people come in, it's not, oh my God, these people are here, I got my guests to deal with. That the community is just as important. Anybody walking off the street to go to the rooftop bar and booking events, etc., for the community, whether there's a birthday party or something, that's as important as the guest calling on the phone trying to book it. So really staying involved with the community, also changing with the community, making sure that we're contributing to local events, we're contributing to local artists. It's not just for the health of the hotel, it's also we share that passion. We're here to really embrace the community of Petaluma, and the way to do it is to immerse ourselves in it.
You know, that's great, and you guys came down here to the podcast to talk to us, so I think that shows a lot that way. I think one of the biggest things you're going to overcome is like this project, not specifically yours, but the owner of that land has been trying to make this happen now for I'm going to say as long as I've been in real estate, you know, almost 20 years or something like that. So the message every couple of years, there's an article in the paper and a new schematic that comes in. So I just don't think people really know what's going on, and they may be confused thinking that this is a project from 10 years ago and the same developer that way. So, you know, we have a lot of people in the community that way they don't like change. And so I just encourage those people to reach out. It seems like we do have a developer here that really wants to be ingrained with the community, and reach out and ask the questions that you have. Because just like on social media, you hear, you know, about this project and everyone's like, you know, and the objections they have aren't reality. Like, they don't realize that they've already been addressed that way. I don't want to specifically go into them. I encourage people to go to the meetings and ask you in person that way, and so they can get it, you know, straight that way. But there's just the noise I hear on social media. It's not real, a lot of the objections that way. So
yeah, well, I want to, and you know, to a lot of people, perception is reality.
Right,
and
right.
And I want to address two things. Not to take anything away, by the way, from the original sponsor that we bought the property from. Or under contract to buy the property from. He did a great job. We're thankful that he preserved this opportunity for us. I think that I think that hotel development, especially, is a very unique skill set, because you're looking at human behavior, and you're really designing something that impacts everyone's lives that's staying there, or is visiting, or is coming to the restaurant, or enjoying an event there. And being able to really align that type of a design approach with local rules, regulations, brand requirements, although we're a boutique, and this is the first place that I'm going to announce. We haven't announced it yet. It was supposed to be a branded hotel. Very high likelihood that it'll remain a boutique hotel without a brand. And so be able to actually align it is a very tough challenge. And people look at it and, you know, like the previous owner, and think maybe it's a lot easier than it looks.
Sure.
But not having the skill set and having a team that can support in that process is impossible to build a project of this magnitude. And the second thing you were addressing, I always treat everybody's questions and fears mainly and issues as they are real. It's real to them. Not everybody always buys in on the answer. We're very open, we're very transparent, and I think a lot of people don't really look at what could have been, right? For example, there's concerns about traffic. That's one of the biggest concerns.
Yes, right.
Well, if the property retains its current zoning and it remains a gas station, can you imagine? I mean, we have a few guests checking in throughout the day. And Petaluma, by virtue of its location, very few people are going to generate 5 or 6 trips a day. They may go to the wine country once and come back, but they're eating here, they're buying here, they're shopping here, they're enjoying the rooftop, they're patronizing all of the different retailers and restaurants, etc. And so I think there's a lot less. in fact attenuating the traffic by far from what's already approved there and was operating there.
Right.
And so I think those are the types of things that, would it really actually work well if we just put a Christmas tree farm there?
Right, yeah.
But,
Garden, a community garden, right.
But that's not really a feasible approach.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think we pay attention to that. And also the other thing that I hear a lot of questions about is that, again, what a lot of people don't take into consideration is that our success relies on the hotel doing well, fitting in, right? If it's an eyesore, if it's, accessibility is impossible, if you can't park your car, all of these things that people have concerns about, without anyone's concerns, without anyone really forcing us to do it, we're the first ones that have to solve those problems in order to guarantee our own success.
Sure.
So we've thought through it, and we're not cutting corners. We're not trying to just, again, because it's not an asset we're gonna, try to slip to somebody and walk. So we're the first ones who really address these things with a huge intent.
Sure.
Speak on the layout with parking. Can you talk a little about the parking? I thought it was a really cool idea. It's being subterranean, correct?
Yeah, the original project did not have any parking. I believe the majority of the property is in a zone where requires no parking. I think that the hotel projects, and we're going to have 24/7 valet, but hotel projects don't do well where there's no parking. You have to have some parking available where the valet can actually, they ask, are you here for dinner? If you're going to be there for an hour or two, they don't want to take your car somewhere else where it takes a few minutes to go get it. The idea of no parking makes sense. The city implemented that zone because they're promoting walkability, they're promoting bikeability. For example, we have valet parking for bikes, also pretty novel and unique, because we're actually promoting that. We have bikes at our hotel. We're promoting people to ride them and use them to access other amenities in town.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's going to be a subterranean level, and I think it's essential for the project to have parking underneath it. But then overflow parking can go to some of the existing city structures, etc.
Right. Yeah, no, I think, and again, that's that misperception, because in the past, I think the project didn't have any on-site parking, and when I talk to people, they're still under the impression that there's no parking on site. And those are the things that I'm saying that you've addressed that way, and that they still think that those things exist when they don't that way. So I encourage those people to reach out and really kind of get to understand the project, because it does seem that like you've handled a lot of those objections that way.
Yeah, and Sean, what we're going to have actually, and we'll share that with you, and hopefully you can share it with your audience.
Yes.
We will have a website, and Heather can talk about it more, but that will have also FAQs. Not only will have the plans available for people to go review the plans. Again, we're extremely transparent.
Sure.
We'll put all the conditions of approval that the city will impose on us. And the website will also have the renderings of the project, and all the FAQs. What Heather does is actually collates all of the questions that we've been asked at town halls, and we have all the answers public.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, if you ask me a question, rather than just answering you, we post it, and then that way
That's
everybody has the benefit of hearing the same answer. One other group that deserves credit, which is usually almost never talked about, is I think that the residents in Petaluma should absolutely put a lot of trust in the city staff.
Mm-hmm.
These are highly educated people. They've dedicated their lives to making sure all of those types of things, architecture, parking, traffic, you name it, is addressed.
Right.
And so it's a, I don't want to call it arduous, but it is a difficult task to make sure everything meets the requirements.
Mm-hmm.
And they check and cross every T, dot every I. And so the first line of defense, if you want to call it that, is the city staff
itself, right?
Is they're going to make sure that we abide by the rules. They're going to make sure that we haven't overlooked anything from an engineering standpoint, from a design standpoint, architectural standpoint. So I think that, and that's what they're getting paid for, right?
Sure.
The tax money goes to make sure that there's somebody there looking after the residents' interests.
I think the idea of being that it's a boutique hotel that fits so well with Petaluma being, I mean, restaurant-wise, we have tons of new, really valued restaurants down the street. One that just received a Michelin star.
Yeah.
I think Petaluma in the past hasn't gotten enough credit for its dining and I mean, we have a really cool wine bar at the north end of town. So many cool places for people to go that they historically might not know about.
Yeah, I said, well, let me tell you this. To that point, when we announce who's going to manage and run and the brand for the restaurants, I think it's going to rival probably some of the best that you've been to.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
We're very excited.
Yeah. We're not quite there yet. Everything just takes a little bit of time. But I think when you do hear it, I think it's going to be very well received.
Well, I'm excited to hear about that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like us or the community to know about the project? Like anything else that we haven't covered
Timeline-wise?
Yeah, so timeline-wise, we're actually going to be submitting to the city for review early next year. Once we're in that review process, it'll take a few months for the staff to check everything and then schedule us for planning commission. I'm hoping that that's going to happen in the Q1, Q2 of 2023. And we're looking at a construction schedule of about 18 months. We might be able to foreshorten that by some, but probably not by much. And we're looking at mid-2024 opening, right? So
that's awesome.
That's kind of the current project schedule. As far as adding anything else, I think you guys have done a fantastic job asking a lot of the questions. Just the fact that, I'm elated to be here. I love Sonoma, I love Petaluma, I love food, and I love wine. So, but there's definitely a culture here that's incredible. It's still a small town. It's still like I travel a lot, and believe me, there are places that used to be great, and I go there and I want to get out in an hour. And I think, we as a community want to work to keep Petaluma the way it is, the way it operates. And I think the friendliness of the community is incredible. A lot of educated people, a very informed group here. And so I think it's just lovely to be here.
That's awesome. So if people have questions, you guys have the community event tomorrow. Do you want to talk a little bit about that really quick time?
Yeah, so it's going to be at the Riverside Cafe.
Okay.
It's from 11 till noon.
Okay.
We are going to do a presentation on the project, of course, and then open it up afterward for any questions that anybody has. We're going to be providing lunch, coffee, and tea. And we'll also provide a Zoom link. However, if people are watching from Zoom, we're not taking questions from Zoom because it gets a little complicated.
Right, yeah.
So if you're on Zoom, it's as a spectator. But again, we are going to be launching that website for the project. And so if they do have questions, they can always submit those to the website.
To the website.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
We'll
cool.
answer from there.
We'll do our best to get this podcast out, but it probably won't go out in time for the meeting tomorrow. So, but we'll give it to you so you have it in the future that way. And I just want people to be able to reach out to you because I do think that the biggest obstacle you guys there's so much misinformation out there about the project that way. So it just have to get the real information in front of people that way.
And we can certainly relay questions that we get on to you as well.
Yeah,
perfect.
Yeah, we certainly were doing that. Well, Heather and Ebbie, thank you so much for coming down here. This has been a great podcast. I know that you certainly, I think, will probably face opposition, but this is a project that makes sense, I think, within the community, and we really, really need it. And it seems like you guys are the right people for this project.
Thank you.
So thank you for coming down here and talking with us today. And I'm Sean Payne, a founder and principal of LivXplore Real Estate and Lifestyle. Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this podcast, please hit like and subscribe so you can see future episodes and be on the lookout for more information on Hotel Weaver. So thank you guys again for joining us.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Welcome to the LivXplore Podcast. If you like what you hear, please hit like and subscribe.